Creating a color wheel spinner with Miss O. Before we can start creating, we have to have a little knowledge about the color wheel. First of all, our primary colors are the only colors on the color wheel that can't be mixed. Those colors are red, blue, and yellow. Using these colors in different combinations, we can make any other color on the color wheel. Let's give it a try. I'm going to be using Blick acrylic paints in phthalo blue, magenta, and chrome yellow. On my 4-ring circle, I'm going to start by coloring every other ring yellow. I will do the same on the 3rd ring in on the opposite sections. Before we move on to red, make sure you wash your paintbrush out really well. Now I'll begin adding red on the top layer in the sections that I skipped. Once the spinner starts turning, your eye will perceive these as mixing and it will create orange. When you mix red and yellow together, you get orange. In the 2nd ring, we'll create the color violet. So we are going to start in the alternating spots, creating red, opposite of where you already put the red in the ring before to help keep consistency. Now, remember, wash out your brush before we start with the blue. Now we're going to take the blue and fill in those sections in between each red we just painted in that 2nd ring. Once the spinner starts to turn, the eye will perceive the red and the blue to mix, creating violet. And the final secondary color that we're going to create is green. We do this by adding blue into that final ring in between the yellow spaces. Now for the very center of our rings, let's start creating all the colors in the color wheel. I'm going to lay in yellow first. Yellow is the weakest color of all the colors in the color wheel and requires the most of that hue in order to create any color you're mixing it with. The next color will be yellow-orange. This is a color that's slightly more orange than it is yellow. To do this, I add lots of yellow and a tiny amount of red. The next color will be orange, so I'm simply going to add a little more red to the orange I already made, and this will give me a nice crisp orange. Then I'll add pure red, and then take a little bit of my blue and mix it with the red to make a red-orange. Red and blue are fairly equal colors, so it takes about the same amount of each to get the color you're looking for. Once we have our red-violet, I'll add a little more blue to create a violet, and then a little more blue to create a blue-violet. Now I'm going to wash out my brush so I get a nice pure blue. After I get finished filling in a small section of blue, I'm going to take a tiny amount of that blue paint and mix it into my yellow. We're going to be creating a blue-green. This is going to be closer to blue than it is to green. Then we will add more yellow to that color to create a pure green. And then finally a little more yellow to get us a nice limey yellow-green. I want you to realize throughout this whole process that we're mixing by eye. So we may have to go back and add some colors to create the color we're actually trying to achieve. Once you're happy with your colors, put it out to dry so that way tomorrow we can cut it out and start assembling our spinner.